spend a few hours than to stand with us as we work to protect our heartland, protect our farmers and ranchers, and march against Monsanto. What could be a better civic exercise today than to promote and safeguard our basic human right of access to healthy food? After hundreds and thousands of phone calls and emails by people like you, Congress repealed the Monsanto Protection Act as a direct result of your actions. Today, we gather around the world on the second annual March Against Monsanto. Farmers and activists are celebrating recent victories in Vermont. The first no-strings-attached GMO labeling bill was signed into law by Governor Shumlin. And only a few days ago, farmers and activists in Jackson and Josephine counties in Oregon crushed the GMO seed and chemical giants Monsanto, Syngenta, and Dow Chemical with a ban on GMOs from being planted in their counties. These wins send a clear signal to the biotech industry that their GMO crops are not wanted. And an equally clear signal to politicians that communities will take a stand to protect their democratic right to local home rule. This time, Monsanto's money and lies didn't work. Monsanto and the rest of the gene giants spent a cool $1 million, a new record for a county ballot initiative in Oregon. This time, ordinary citizens and community rights prevailed over corporate and political corruption. Today, we are calling you all to join our global march against Monsanto in an effort to stand up for our democratic rights and protect the planet from Monsanto's toxic influence. We just marched and we are standing to stop the continued corruption of our democracy, the poisoning of our environment, the loss of biodiversity, and the continued assault on the basic rights of farmers and citizens around the world. I am here to share my personal experience about this issue. I went to Colombia, Latin America in 2001 as part of a human rights delegation sponsored by Witness for Peace to investigate the effect of fumigation on the farmers or campesinos where the spraying was taking place. We saw the devastation of the countryside caused by the fumigation and saw the effects of the spray on children and adults in the region. Plan Colombia is reminiscent of Vietnam, and as a result of the United States war on drugs, the aerial spraying of vast sections of the Colombian Amazon jungle with Monsanto's Roundup Ultra in a supposed effort to eradicate coca being grown in the region has been occurring. The effectiveness of the program, however, is greatly in dispute. We heard stories saying that the fragile Amazonian soil could soon be turned into desert. Military planes were targeting coca farms funded by the U.S., and they have been spraying mists of herbicides over food crops, grazing animals, and even children where children were playing.
And one way to do that is get it labeled. And we at Right to Know Colorado are working on a ballot initiative so that we will have the knowledge of what's in our food. If you have not signed up on the petition, please do. If we get out the vote, and if we get it on the petition and we get this on the ballot, we might be the first state to pass this by ballot initiative. Vermont has become the first state to require mandatory labeling of GMO foods. Let's give Vermont a hand. Yay, Vermont. They did it through their legislature, though. Those folks out there are aware of the importance of their food and what's in it and knowing it, so they can support their farmers. There are 60 countries that already have laws restricting or labeling foods produced with genetic engineering. So the U.S. is way behind.
Yeah, way behind.
Way behind.
It's shitty. Yeah.
Was in the UK, where when they introduced genetically modified soybean, the soybean allergies increased by 50% in a year. That's a huge increase. What else are you going to blame it on besides the fact that this was genetically changed, right? So what do we know right now? We know animals have these kind of issues: liver cell changes, pancreatic cancer, bleeding ulcers, blood cell changes, liver changes. The liver changes are huge. The liver gets bigger, it gets denser. It can't process toxins in that way. Sperm cells are altered. Their offspring die. Offspring are smaller. Like third generation. The animals are sterile. And we're not just talking about lab animals, everyone. We're talking about all animals in North America, for instance. We're talking cows. We're talking pigs. We're talking geese. We're talking elk. In 1992, we had FDA scientists saying, we must change things. We must study this. We have no idea what the long-term effects are. But why haven't we done it? Why haven't we done it yet? Because we have corporate influence, we have lobby influence, and we have our own FDA that says they have no information showing that GMO foods are different from conventionally grown foods. Therefore, according to the FDA, they are safe to eat, and they require no safety studies. Now, do we believe that? No, absolutely not. And why is that happening? We all know. It's lobby power, right? We know the White House has had internal memos that have been released that say, squelch this information, right? I do pre-surgery phone calls on people. I call people that are having surgeries. You know what I've seen the last 10 years, specifically the last 15 years since GMOs have been introduced? We have a population that's getting sicker and sicker and sicker in this country. For many reasons. And a lot of it is tied back to corporate interests, okay? We just had a person we spoke to in the last year that was 26 and pregnant. Her breast cancer was so aggressive, she had to have a mastectomy, both sides, and start chemo while she was pregnant. They could not wait until she delivered the baby. Success story is she did good. Chemo worked. Her baby's a couple years old now, or a year old or so. So treatment worked. But you have to ask yourself, why are we seeing a population that's so sick? Every disease that we have, in my opinion, and scientific studies, if more were to be done, is related to our diet, our food, our exercise. So that realizing these foods can trigger autoimmune reactions. I'm going to say from my own personal experience, one of the diseases I have is rheumatoid arthritis. Now, I was diagnosed years ago, but let me tell you something personally about pharmaceutical companies, okay, who also exert so much influence on us. I've had rheumatoid arthritis for over 20 years. When I was diagnosed, it was severe. I was not able to function, okay? I could not, half the month, get up off the couch with pain. I had many days where I had pain, but I still went to work. I could not pump up blood pressure cuffs at work. I had to come home after work, after working 8 hours, and prop my knee up on a pillow and ice it down so I could get through the week. Everyone needs to get out and plant a garden. If you can't do that, there are community gardens all over this community. We're trying to make a change in this community, and there are many of us that have this voice, and what we have to do is band together and make change. Grow your own garden, shop local, shop your farmers markets. You know, just get out there and one by one do these things. Tell your neighbors, tell your book clubs, tell your church, wherever you gather, start informing people. It's making a change in me. I'm the healthiest that I've been in the last 2 years because I have started making changes in my diet and in my exercise.